for this tutorial I'm using a 0.6 millimeter dreadlock crochet hook. And so as I'm crocheting this, notice I pull the hairs to the side. I'm using my hands like this. You'll see this in all my tutorials, that I use these fingers, the squeeze, in order to move the hook. I don't do this. 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 Because that's too much wrist action and you'll hurt your wrists in the long term. We just want to use the fingers because the fingers are they'll naturally do that. So here we go. And also notice, as I go through this process, I'm going to go straight through it. I'm going to pull the hair to the side, stick my hook in, straight in. I grab the hair on the other side, and I pull the hook in, pull the hook out, and I only go out about that far. And then I go down a little bit, and I come in, out, like that. After I've gone, say, a centimeter or so, I might do something like this, where I tilt the hook, and I push the hook down. Basically, if you come in and out, and then you push the hook down, it'll just come out. Or you can also come in and down, and you can turn your wrist slightly, and it'll come out. But either way, what we're going to do is we pull the hair to the side, we stick the hook through, we scrape this thumb so the hair goes in. You'll know that you're doing it right when you see hair on this side not be there anymore. And as said before, we're going to go straight down. And also too, as I'm going through this, I'm feeling and seeing if the thickness that I'm witnessing is the thickness that I want, or do I need to pause for a moment and back comb it to be a little bit more thicker. Because look, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which is fine, but I don't want to do that. I want it to be a uniform dread, not a tapered dread. So I'm actually going to come here with my comb and push it up. I push all of it up. If you have to fix a certain area, you have to go down the whole length of that area. It's better to be too thick and then smooth it out a little bit too thick than to not be thick enough, and keep going. And here we go. Pulling the hair to one side. We pull the hair to one side not to wrap it around the dread, but just so that it's in the proper position to pull it in with the opposite hand. So if you're left-handed, you'll use your right hand to pull the hair to one side and then crochet it. And then now what I just noticed, as feeling it, is a dent. It's a little sparse right here in this area. So take the comb, I thicken that area up a little bit so that I keep and maintain the desired thickness that I'm going for. Now I'm smoothing it out, feeling it. Alright, I got it. For most people, it'll be difficult to do this. It's not because you can't do it, but because you're unfamiliar with what it feels like to get the results that you want. If you want uniform dreads, or you want to specialize in creating uniform dreadlocks or tapered dreadlocks, it's important to get familiar with how it feels. Okay, and in my first run through that you just witnessed right there, it looks decent, but it's not done yet. That looks like it's been crocheted. If it looks like it's been crocheted, it hasn't been done. It's not done yet. This one right here, you can hardly tell that has been crocheted. So we got to go back through it, starting at the top. Also notice too, it's kind of flat in certain areas. So this is where we begin the process of refining it. And how I begin is I lightly back comb it with my fingers. Any loose hairs that didn't go all the way in there, they'll pop out, and we can use those hairs to round it. So see how it looks okay right there, but when I turn it, it's kind of flat. So in the process of rounding it, what I do is I pinch this flatness area. I pinch that. I pinch it down, and then as I'm pulling the crochet hook across the thumb to pull in that hair. So I pull the hair to one side, and then I'm pinching that down. And now, as I'm going through it, that's what I'm feeling for. I'm feeling if it needs to be pinched more or less in order to get the desired roundness. And again, I'm going straight through from the top to the bottom, from the base to the tip. I'm not trying to get it perfect the first time round. I'm just focusing on getting it good enough in that area so that I can move on. It's very discouraging if to overly focus on one area in the beginning stages, only to find that you became too focused, and the areas that you've perfected only look good in that area. When compared to the whole, they look out of proportion. So it's more important to get a generalized mastery of what you're going for first, then you go in with the micro precision and fix all the nitty-gritty details afterwards. And that's what we're approaching. That's how we're approaching this dreadlock, and that's ideally how you want to approach life. Go for a general mastery first, a general, thorough understanding of the basics, then go in and become picky. See, right now it's already more round. And we're going to go through it again. Backcombing it with our hands. But this time, really focusing on bringing in that stray hairs, being a bit more picky. Each time we go through, we're a little bit more picky. And this time we're going to focus on making sure that it's round. I'm doing a little more crocheting, and so how I'm actually getting that roundness now, because it's a little bit more round before, but now we're really going to get it round because I'm actually going to tilt the dread back and forth and or move my needle back and forth. Really making sure that this time around we're getting in all the little stray hairs that we can. Pulling them to one side still. Being extra picky this time around. Notice how I didn't, at one time, I did not take hair and wrap it around the dread. We don't want it to look like hair has been wrapped around the dread or that the dread's made of twisted hair. That's not what a dread looks like. That's a dread that's just going to become hairy in the end or come out. It's a dread that's not going to look like a real dread. I specialize in realistic dreadlock extensions, not fake dreadlock extensions that obviously look fake. I specialize in realistic, permanent dreadlock extensions. Ones that someone's going to want to keep for the rest of their life, ideally, or cut off when they feel like their natural dreadlocks have grown long enough. I'm just being picky right now, but as I'm turning it, you can see that it's definitely getting more rounder. This definitely is. We're continuing onward down it. And you can notice that I'm just ever so slightly is that I'm tilting this dread back and forth like this. If you see my other tutorial on how to make one of these dreadlock extensions, you notice that instructions are a little bit different for each one. Maybe these instructions will work better for you. This version of how to adjust the roundness of it work better than the previous ones. Maybe. And to each his own. It's up to you to discover what works best for you. Learning is important, but unlearning might be more important. Because we learn by experience, not by what we see or what someone tells us. Alright, now what I'm doing is I'm going from the bottom to the top and just a final revision of looking at any areas that I feel that I really want. And look, I do this, hardly any hairs pop out of there, and that's what you want. Like, if you do like this, you want to make sure that hardly any hairs pop out. But as I go up through here, I'm looking for any straight areas like that or like that, and we're going to be crocheting those areas so that if these dreads ever get bent, they never make these little loops right here. If those areas are left uncrocheted, that'll create a kink someday. But we're starting from the bottom, we're working our way to the top. We just take our time, taking our time. And as a whole, I would recommend not going from the bottom to the top. That takes a lot. It takes a lot while to stop and go and stop and go and stop and go. But in this instance, we're really focusing on precision. Really going for the details of making sure that each one of those little areas are ever more precise and round and consistent, with none of those straight areas like this we're about to get to. So with this straight area, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it from one side, which will create a lot of these little bulbs on this side, and then I'm gonna turn this side, and I'm gonna pull that in. And look at it. You'll see. One moment. See, it looks even better now. I'm just touching up any areas. I'm noticing as I turn around, I might see, oh, it kind of bends. It kind of looks like it's going that way a little bit. It's kind of too thick right there. Well, I'll come in, start at the top, pull that in a little bit tighter. And having the rubber band up here, it really helps you get some traction on there so that you create a straight dreadlock extension. There we go. Turn around. Looks pretty good, right? Alright, but for the final process, the only time I ever palm roll anything, and all my clients and all the dreadlocks that I've ever done in my own head or anything, is right after I've done crocheted some dreadlocks, because it can help really mesh in some of these areas. Look how pockety it is. When the key is that when you're palm rolling, you want to make sure the hands get warm, so that it warms the hair and it softens up the dread a little bit. My hands are getting warm. There we go. Check that out. That is a uniform dreadlock extension. And remember, our goal was just to get a little bit thicker than this one. And if you look at the front, here we go. You can see that it is just a smidge thicker. a smidge thicker. But that's good. That's what we were aiming for. This is one I did earlier that was too thick. But these are human hair extensions. Handmade, just as I've shown you how. I didn't injure myself. It was pretty quickly, pretty easy. My hands don't hurt. And yeah, if you like to see any more tutorials or any more videos about dreadlocks, feel free to leave a comment or a question, or ask me something, and I will feel free to share you and show you my specifics of my technique. And if you have difficulty practicing this technique and creating your own extensions, or crocheting as a whole, let me know, and we'll talk about it. I'll create a new video. But that's it for now. Much love. I'll see you guys later.